Do you think part of the reason why there's a lack of critical thinking these days is the public education system and the way they teach kids?
I don't know so much if it's that. That obviously plays a role, I think, too. Especially, when specific teachers can come in with a specific agenda, right? Where they're not just trying to teach, they're trying to teach ideology. I think it's more of a problem in higher education, in like universities where this, universities and colleges used to be a place where, there was diversity of thought. Like people could have different ideas and discuss them, where that was squelched. Like like if a Jordan Peterson or a Bill Maher want to go to a call, they get picketed and, they don't let them speak. It's like, all right, you don't have to go listen, but maybe other people want to, right? And it's almost like monolithic in terms of what you're allowed to believe. And if you don't, you're kind of an outcast, right? So I think that's problematic. I think the bigger problem, though, with the tribalization of both sides is just social media in general.
Really?
The algorithms themselves, and I'm not an expert on this, but there's no question that the more time you spend on a specific topic, the more of that you're going to get.
Yeah.
Right? So as a result, you're going to constantly be fed things that confirm your beliefs.
Right.
And for me, I actually think I'm one of the few maybe who think the platform of X has improved because it's more neutral. People say it's more right wing, right?
I see a lot of that on X.
Yeah, more right wing. But then when you look at the balance, right? Like I think Elon said something to the effect of, I think 97% of the people that worked there were Democratic donators, right?
Wow.
So it was already, far left. So then those people, when they see anything that doesn't align with their beliefs, they call it right-wing extremism, when a lot of it is just moderate common sense stuff.
Right.
A lot of the things that you believe, maybe your eyes are open to the fact like, oh, that wasn't even true. I'm embarrassed to say this. I'm genuinely embarrassed to say this because I was fooled myself. When Trump said there's very fine people on both sides, I took it as what they said. All the media said, well, he's talking about white nationalists and neo-Nazis are fine people, right? Then I listened to it a couple months ago and went, oh my God. He wasn't talking about them at all. He in that same video that they don't put in the thing, he says, I'm not talking about white nationalists or neo-Nazis. He says that exactly. He's talking about, and this part is true, there are fine people. They were taking down monuments of like whoever, and some people were for taking them down and some people were against that, okay? Now, I'm sure some of those people on both sides were fine people. Not the neo-Nazis who happened to come this way. But then I read on Twitter, because I said this recently, and everyone's like, well, if you're marching on the same side as the neo-Nazis, then, you're on the wrong side. It's like, listen, they have nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? Like, just because they believe something has nothing to do with me, if I'm aligned with them or something. That's not how you evaluate whether people, but again, just the DNC, this last little bit, I saw them repeat the lie.
Right.
Like, it's like you just keep telling the same lie, and it's like, opens your eyes to like, they don't even care. Like every reporter who reported on that knew that they were spinning, at the very least, distorting and lying about his position. It was just blatant.
They've weaponized the media. Kamala won't even do any interviews.
No, and that's probably, here's the thing. It's so bizarre to say, but it's probably smart for her.
You think so?
Probably. Like strategically, I get why they're doing that. Is because when she's off the cuff, like if you watch like her speeches, they're like word for word. She's just reading a teleprompter.
Don't most of them do that though?
No, I mean, why? Not really. No, like they have their different they have their speeches. They have like bullet points and things like that. But like Trump, I mean, his rallies are just whatever. Right. He just says stuff. You know what I mean? He goes off. But like with her, when she's gone off the cuff, she ends up in these word salads where she'll speak for 2 minutes without saying anything. She'll say, I can see what can be unburdened by what has been, and the significance of the passage of time is significant because the passage of time is significant. And you're like, wait a minute, you literally just spoke for 90 seconds without saying a damn thing, right? She's quite good at not answering questions in that way. But I think like from their perspective, they're curating her image. They're trying to completely do a 180 because as I said, weeks before, she was the nominee, anointed nominee, not voted in by the people, not democratically voted in. They were talking about getting her off the ticket as the lowest rated VP in history. And now they're like sort of just completely whitewashed or just changing the narrative, and that, like she's like the next coming or something like that. Based on what exactly? Like what flipped? What changed all of a sudden? And it really just was as simple as the machine getting behind her. And the only reason she was put in this place, flat out, is because there was $240 million locked up in the Biden-Harris campaign that only she could use. if they had their choice, I can't imagine they would choose the one who, when she ran, got less than 1%, didn't win a single delegate in those primaries. And frankly, Tulsi Gabbard ended her career, as far as I thought, or ended her campaign in 45 seconds.
Should have.
It was it. Well, she was done. And then, then Biden says, I'm going to have a woman as VP, which is, by definition, a DEI hire, right? It's like, so DEI is a thing where you're like, people get offended by that, right? Like, well, why are you offended by something if you believe it's good? If you believe in DEI, then why wouldn't you be supportive of this, right? But whenever you mention that Kamala was a DEI hire, they get offended by saying she's not qualified. Now, understand this. You can be qualified. Absolutely. I'm not suggesting that because she was hired that she wasn't qualified. I'm not suggesting that based on that alone. What I am saying is when you say, I'm only going to choose from this demographic of people, and you weed out all the other possible candidates simply because of their race or gender, that is DEI hire. You're literally saying there are no white people, or not white people, there are no males that can possibly have this role, even if they're perfectly fit.
Right.
What do you call that exactly? Right? And I get it. Politicians do that. They try to hit a specific demographic.
Yeah.
When Trump ran, he's like, well, I want to win, the Christian right. I'm going to bring on Mike Pence, So they do that. But when you just flat out openly say so, that I'm only going to have a woman in this role, and then you do it, and then people say, well, that's not a DEI hire, then what exactly do you think a DEI hire is?
Yeah. Did you see the DEI debate between Mark Cuban and Vivek?
I didn't see the whole thing.
Okay.
But I
So
should.
Mark Cuban was defending DEI. He's a fan of it.
Yeah.
And Vivek was against it. But it was interesting to me.
I think I saw some of the effect of, then why don't you have any like 5'9" Asians on your Dallas Mavericks basketball team? Right? If you really want to be diverse.
That's funny.
And then when you think of like the problems with DEI, there's this gentleman by the name of Coleman Hughes. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He wrote a great book called The End of Race Politics. Now, this is a black male who's been liberal his most of his life, independent thinker. And he wrote this book essentially pointing out, frankly, that DEI actually ends up hurting the communities that it's supposed to be helping because of a couple reasons. Number one, if you went to a doctor, you have a choice between a doctor or a lawyer, right? And you can pick anybody, right? If you choose somebody who's a person of color, there's that extra element of wondering, okay, did they qualify based on their merit, or were they a DEI hire? And when you bring in that doubt, you offend those very people. What if I was a black man who worked my stuff? I'm an amazing doctor,
right.
But because of the fact that this process happens, people question and go, I don't know, I'm not going to take my chances here. I'm going to go with somebody else just in case, you were like lower on the bar in terms of, and you were inserted into the top group because they needed diversity.
Yeah, it never made sense to me, race and gender. I've hired both men and women. Race never mattered to me. Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode.